NOG. How to play. The object of the game is to defeat all of your opponent's cards while still having cards left on your side. There are 3 types of cards in NOG. The first is a troop card. It will have HP, an attack that deals damage, and sometimes an ability marked by the diamond symbol. Next is land cards. Land cards have HP, but they do not directly damage cards. Instead, they will always have an ability. The last card is a spell card. They will have a lifespan which determines how long they will stay on the board, and a description to tell you what happens. Spell cards can have anywhere from a lifespan of 1, 2, 3, or a permanent lifespan, marked by the word in the corner. To start a game, you will shuffle and hand out a set amount of cards to each player. For today's video, I'm giving 10 cards to each player. After giving out 10 cards to each player, neither of you will look at the cards. You will then give yourself 4 cards, taking from the top and revealing them to yourself by putting them into your hand. Your opponent will do the same. This is your hand. This area is called the deck. This is your pile, and dead cards would go to the side of the deck. Before either player makes a move, you will first have to play 2 non-spell cards onto the deck. Looking at my hand, these are both spells, so I have to play these cards. I can play one of them, and then take from my pile, and because this is also a troop card, I can choose my second card to be either of these. I'm going to play this, and then I will refresh my hand. My opponent will do the same, playing 2 troop cards to go against mine, and then replenish their hand. The board will now look like this, before anyone has taken a turn. In the scenario where you only have spell cards in your hand before the game begins, you will take from your deck, and you will look until you find a troop card in place. You will continue to do that until you have 2 troops. Any cards that weren't a troop will be put back into the pile. Choose a player to start. After a player starts, the next player will go up until one player wins. On your turn, you have 2 moves. One of those moves is allowed to be an attack and go. Both of the moves are not allowed to be attack and goes. So if you attack on the first go, you cannot attack on the second go. On your go, you can do 2 of a few things. You can, firstly, attack. You'll take the damage of your card and dealing it to an opposing card. In this case, Cupid would take 4 damage, putting his HP from 10 to 6. That uses up an attack and go. If you use up an attack and go, you cannot attack for the next move. The second thing you can do is charge an attack. You'll take whatever damage you would do and save it for your next turn. So if I was to charge the Spider Gladiator, this 4 damage would be saved so that the next time the Spider Gladiator attacks, he will do 4 damage plus the charged 4 damage, leading to 8 damage. That also uses up an attack and go. So if you charge a card, you cannot attack with a different card. The other things you can do is play a card. You can play a troop card onto the deck. That will use up 1 turn. You will then have to refill your hand, of course. Or you can play a spell card onto the board. Spell cards will be played onto other cards unless specifically stated otherwise. That will use up a turn, and you will then have to refill your hand. As long as you have cards here, you must always refill your hand to have 4 cards up here. So, in a game, I might attack with the Spider Gladiator, dealing 4 damage to keep it, and then play the 3 bears. I would not be allowed to attack with the Spider Gladiator and then attack with the Elemental Fly Trap, because those are both attacking goes. I can only use 1 attacking go per turn. What I can do is play a card, then attack. The order does not matter. The last thing you can do when you go is skip a go. You cannot skip both your turns. You must do something and then skip a turn. So I can attack and then skip my second go. Or I could play a card, then skip my second go. You cannot skip both of your goes. Think about spells. For instance, the Shrink Potion is a 1 lifespan spell. You'll play on a card, half the current HP, and double the damage. By playing this card, because it has the lifespan of 1, it will immediately take effect, putting Spider Gladiator's HP at 4, but its damage at 8. This card, after taking effect, will then go into the dead pile. A different spell, like Puppet Master, has a lifespan of 2, which means it will stay on the board for 2 turns. The card lets you control an enemy's card for 2 turns. I played on Cupid, I will control them, and the turn I played will start as the first turn. So the turn I played it, that's the first turn. My opponent's turn after that is also in the first turn. When it comes back to me, that will be the second turn. And then go back to my opponent, that's also the second turn. When it comes back to me for the 3rd time, that is the end of the Puppet Master, and it will leave as soon as my opponent's second turn ends. That is how the turns and the lifespans work. Troops that die will also go to the dead pile. For instance, my Spider Gladiator, if on my turn, I shrink it to deal double damage, but half my HP, I will do 8 damage, and I will then attack Zippy. My Shrink Potion runs out, because it has a lifespan of 1, and Zippy dies because he only has 6 HP, and I dealt 8 damage. If a card ever reaches 0, or goes below 0 HP, it is dead. Both your and your opponent's cards will be put into the same dead pile. You do not have separate piles of dead cards. In a scenario where I have no cards on deck, as if they have killed all of my cards, I'm allowed to play 1 troop or land card, a card with HP, onto the deck for free. This means if somebody has wiped out your entire team, you get one free turn to play it, and then you could attack and play a spell, getting your 2 turns, without using 1 turn to play this, to make it a little bit of a comeback feature. As the game progresses, you and your opponent will keep killing cards and playing new cards, in which, eventually, you'll be down to your last cards. After playing these cards, you will continue to play, except you will no longer have 4 cards in your hand. As you keep playing cards, you will eventually run out. Once you run out of cards in your hand, you'll be left with whatever you have on the board. If the cards on your board and your hand both run out, then you have lost. Your opponent has won. Spell cards can be played on any card, your cards, opposing cards. So unlike spell vaccine, that makes it so other spells on the card will no longer work, which means if they put a poison on your card, you could spell vaccine, which still keeps the poison on there, but makes it no longer active. Or, instead, if they had a card to boost their cards, like Champion Spear, where every time they get hit, they gain damage, I could put spell vaccine on, which doesn't remove it, but makes it so that spells no longer work on this card. However, some spell cards specifically say, place on one of your cards, place on one of your cards. Bullseye forces your opponent's next attacking move to attack a certain card. So I could play the Bullseye on my Fog Machine. Next time a Log of Goblins wants to attack, it must hit my Fog Machine. However, the Fog Machine has ability, which makes it so their opponent's attack could miss. The game is built on these crazy abilities and designs. For instance, the Fly, anytime you want to attack it, you must flip a coin twice. If they are both heads, then you land a hit. And so the Deputy Goblin, with 5 HP and 5 damage, will have to hit him, and then take a real-life coin, flip it once, get a heads, flip it a second time, and get tails, which means they miss the shot. Of course, the Fly only has 1 HP, so anything will kill it as long as they get lucky. Another card that is quite popular and is incredibly fun is the Minotaur. The Minotaur has a unique ability where it will hit every single opposing card, along with the fact it will gain damage. So, if I was to use my attack, which is 1 damage, plus 1 for every opposing card, I deal 1, 2, 3, 4 damage to every single opposing card, ramming them all, and probably killing them. We have cards like Gravedigger, where you will use it, and you will be able to grab 1 card from the dead pile and bring it back into your hand. It uses your turn, it puts it back into your hand, it does not go directly onto deck. We have cards like Mystic Eye, where you will play it, and you will force your opponent to show all of their cards that they have in their hand. Now, these cards stay visible to you until they get used. Any new cards they pull, you don't get to see, but all their cards will stay visible to you until they, of course, get played onto the deck. We have cards like the 3 Bears. First time it attacks, 1 damage, too small. Second time it attacks, 7 damage, too big. Third time it attacks, 4 damage, just right. And we also have cards like Tree, 15 HP. It's a land card. And while you have it on deck, any attacks to any cards will be directed to the tree. So if I was to do 7 damage to the Rusty Wizard, all that damage would be moved to the tree. This goes for anything. The Thunderstorm will deal 1 damage on the first turn you play it. Second turn you play it, it'll do 2 damage. Third turn you play it, 3 damage to all of their cards. So if I was to play it here, it would deal 1 damage to both of them, but all the damage goes to the tree. So it's 2 damage to the tree, and the Rusty Wizard will stay alive. What is this game? Then we have cards like Robo Frog, where for every teammate you have, he gains damage. What is going on? And then cards like the Chameleon, where on placement, you get to copy 1 HP, 1 damage, and 1 ability from across the deck. So I could copy the HP of the tree, the damage of the Rusty Wizard, and the ability of the Robo Frog to have an insane card. Cards like Bloodshed, where whatever card you play it on will gain 3 damage for every card that dies. Cards like the Ice Switch, where any card it attacks will immediately be frozen, cannot be used on the next turn. Cards like Jack in the Box starts at 0 damage. Every time it gets attacked, it increases damage by whatever you just rolled. Spellbook Extension, which will increase the lifespan of the next spell you place. Ancient Curse, swapping HP. Blazing Protection, protecting your card by dealing damage to whoever dealt damage to it. Goblin Treasure, just being a cool card. Cushion Blow, cushioning any blow by rolling a dice and blocking that much damage. Watchtower, while you have it on deck, you get to look at all the next cards that your opponent plays. Rumor Explosive, blows up in 3 turns if it's still alive. Professional Goblin, you flip a coin to see if it'll do double damage or half damage. Snake Goblin, while it's on deck, all your friendly cards are immune to all poisons. Volcano, anytime your opponent plays a card, all their cards will take 1 damage. Medusa, anytime Medusa gets attacked, the card that attacked her will turn to stone for 1 go. Wishing Well, you'll get rid of 1 of your cards and take 1 of your opponent's cards. Jetpick, attack every single card except for the one with the lowest HP. Cupid, being able to hit 2 cards. Ambush, meaning that all your cards will attack 1 card at once. Mystic Island, you see opponent's cards. Cemetery, any cards that die will join your side. Magic Chains will connect all of the cards for 1 hit. So if you hit them, it'll hit all their teammates. Spell Mutation, doubling the effect of any spells placed on that card. Mousetrap, freezing and dealing damage to a card that attacks it. Outlaw Cactus, being a cactus with damage to stuff that attacks him. Puppet Master, letting you control. Large Magnet, letting you move spells. Cauldron, letting you play extra spells. Goblin Box, dealing pretty good damage. Element of Fire Trap, dealing the same damage but with more HP. Or burns, swapping your HP and your damage. Fighting Spirit, getting you 1 damage for every 1 HP you lose. Factory Reset, resetting you entirely. The Top, letting you remove a spell from the board. Kissinger's Choice, you can remove stuff. Apple Worm, Time Blast, Carpata, Star Machine, Knuckle Dusty, Healing Spirit. Robo Pro, Kill, Beast, Frozen Rex, Poison Scope, Stone Potion, Sticky, Spy Guardian, No IP, Ejectancy, Deputy Goblin, Dice, Cell Sorcerer, Rhinosaur,